Wonderful. And just for those who are already here, whoever wants to join on stage, ask something, go into discussion, please do. I don't have any slides. I will just tell you some things I learned over the last few years about content, and what kind of gaps we found, where we struggled. But if anyone wants to also bring up something, please do so. It can be an open discussion.
Don't be shy.
Good, exactly. But good, Elena. So thanks. I think I will just start. Welcome everybody. Who, as I said, and I will just say it again. If anybody wants to say anything on stage, bring up anything, go into discussion, please raise your hand so Elena or I can put you on stage. And with this, let me tell you a little bit about the past, I think, 2 to 3 years of content management on DHL.com and within DHL. We started working with content management because we needed to. It was not like, especially, I know everybody had, but kind of especially our team, because someone pushed the topic to us and said, you're the analytics team, you can do content too. And we were like, no, thanks, we don't want to. But yeah, so it was the child we didn't want to have, but then kind of seeing it growing up, it made more and more fun to play with it. So these days, I really, and perhaps it seems strange, but I really like content management if it's done in the right way. And what we've found in the last 2 to 3 years is that there are a lot of pitfalls within content, or doing content right, especially as you don't, or the law doesn't tell you what's completely correct or not. There are gray zones in there. That's why you see so many content banners which are different. You see typical behaviors if you go into magazines or kind of daily papers. They all will have something where it's hard to not accept, and they always will have these necessary things, even if they're not necessary, trying to at least get this from you. Whilst if you go to other websites, you will find a clear yes or no. And even you will find a reject button. And this is one of the first learnings I had. The reject button, if you do content correct, is kind of wrong, because if you do content management, this means from a legal perspective, you don't track anything until the users opts in. So everything is blocked. But if everything is blocked, how should you reject? Because there is nothing you can reject, because nothing is happening. So a simple yes or no, or an accept all and confirm, is, out of my view, and no legal advice here, please. Even this session is recorded. Important, no legal advice here, just kind of what I learned out of the past. Is if you go with confirm, it is just from the idea the right thing, and not reject, because there is nothing to reject. The second thing is integrating content. A lot of people think, oh, you integrate a content module, software, whatever, and then it's done. Which is funny, because it isn't at all. You just bring up a banner on your website and it's showing the accept or decline. But the tool itself does nothing. But many people just don't know. They think if you bring up the banner, this is doing everything. In the end, the content management is just storing your content, the user's content, and the rest of the software has to listen to. Which something we learned again is, if you have everything within a tag manager, GTM, Adobe Launch, Telium, whatever, then it's easy, because you can easily set up rules so they listen to the opt-in and then do condition check if it's okay. If you have things from the backend which are not strictly necessary, that's get more tricky. Um, and then there are obvious things. So I don't know, save your card is something which is not strictly necessary, but you can perhaps directly think of that you have those. And if there's a cookie set for it, you can block this. Easy to think about. Have you thought about that payment systems in your checkout sometimes set cookies which are not strictly necessary? I didn't thought about this because I always thought if PayPal, whoever just sets a cookie, they really need it. No, there are sometimes systems which sets cookies which are not strictly necessary for the payment process. And with this, you can really struggle because if you don't block those cookies, you get into trouble. Blocking those isn't as easy because a lot of payment systems didn't thought about having such condition filter in to say yes or no to block it. And as those payment systems are normally tied directly into the backend, it's nothing you can easily do within a tag management system. So if you set up content management, have a check on your complete website, not just the typical front end things, but also other things within checkout, within a logged in area, wherever, where perhaps the backend sets cookies which are not strictly necessary. Another thing about the cookie set is how do you interact with the backend? Also there, the system itself, the most constant systems, just funny enough, set a cookie to tell which user opt-in it is. But with this, if you would switch the content management, your backend system has to listen to a new version of a cookie or whatever is set. So what we did, and just recently, is if the user sets the opt-in, we create a JavaScript variable and a custom event, which are kind of telling both the same, but we try to give the backend systems two possibilities to listen. And the content of this JavaScript variable and custom event is just, is analytics set to yes or no? Is targeting set to yes or no? Is functional set to yes or no, and nothing else? We don't say, oh, please listen to OneTrust, or please listen to this one. Because if the backend is listening to something like this generic, it's much easier later on if you switch the content management tool that your tag management system does the logic of transferring the opt-in from the content management tool to this logic. But the backend system doesn't need a new release to do this. Helps a lot later on. And if you're perhaps now saying, yep, we have once a content management system, why should we change? I don't know. But 3 years before we didn't knew, or 4 years, 5 years before we didn't knew that we need a content management system. I don't know what is happening in 2 years with content management systems. Perhaps there are other out there which you need, and then you have to switch. So if you do it now, kind of in the best way you can think of, then it hopefully saves you on later on time. What else? If you do content, and I already see that Tony said you brought my attention with New York, NOYB. I never know how to pronounce it right. And we got hit by them. And it was in the media that they sent out papers to different companies. We were one of them. And it didn't hit the DHL.com website where I'm looking after. It hit another one. But what they were looking after, and this is something so easy to fix if you do it right, they just looked for dark patterns. So it was about, are the buttons to confirm or decline in the same color? Does this is something where you help users, or you try to bring users more to the exact than something else? They look something after, does the user just see the accept all, or is it possible to see a confirm or decline or reject button directly? They also, and this was really interesting because I saw it on many websites that they don't deal with it, is you show a user the possibility to opt in the beginning. Later on, they you have to give the user the possibility to switch. But if you don't have something on your website to open up the banner again, they can't. So that's important to have in mind. We deal with this. We just have a link on in the footer called cookie settings. If you click on it, you get the panel, and you can easily say yes or no again. And I don't think that users will do this heavily, but in the end, they have the chance to, and that's what they are looking for. And the other thing is, I think that this Schrems organization is trying to set a general industrial standard. So in the end, what they are aiming for is to have a yes or no, really easy one. And yeah, I see.
Yes, I saw Tony that wants to be on the
Please,
stage, and so are you ready?
please, Tony, come on stage.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm very interested because I'm deep in that subject, so I can provide more details. If nobody knows about the NOIB project, I think it's an independent consultant advocate for privacy, and he had tried to automatize. He make a script that is running on all the websites over the world, but I think he's only focusing on OneTrust CMP as for now.
Not just only. We have seen the letters, and they are focusing on a few, not all. But they are also are directly the problem within, because they do it in an automated way. They even fail with OneTrust CMP, because if you configure OneTrust in another way than the standard OneTrust, they think so. The banner of OneTrust, now just going onto OneTrust, but the banner of OneTrust is always within the script, even if you don't use it. So we don't show the banner, we directly show the control preference center. So we didn't design the banner at all. But what they did, they looked after the banner and said, it's not designed, it's wrong. So we said, sorry, but you did it wrong. So perhaps one also advice is, if you get a letter from them or from whoever who's complaining about your content module, make sure that you read it properly, because it could be that they did it in an automated way and they fail completely in looking after the right things on your website.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. But Tony, you said kind of your legal team is kind of afraid about it. What are they afraid about?
Well, I think it's more about the intention or the media intention that they can get from this consultancy. I think in analytics, I never heard about them, but I think for advocate or every DPO kind of know them.
Yeah.
And maybe they can maybe have a leverage somehow. So if a DHL or other company has say wrong, they are going to say like, "Oh, you are wrong," and we prove that for you. So
yeah, exactly. It is a little bit. So it got attention on our company, as it was. We got the first information out of the press and not from the letter, which was interesting. So we got in the morning the press that it says DHL grower Chibo is kind of on the list of this NGO, and was like, oh yeah, well, thanks for letting us know. But in the end, again, it's press attention, and the interesting thing is what you do out of it. So you could easily go in and say, have a look and say, no, we are all good. And kind of you could go into the press and do the same if you want to. You could prove them wrong, answering them. What you also could do is kind of saying, the way we do it, we think is right, and we are so into this, we will go to the authorities and discuss with the authorities directly if our system is correct or not. So there are different approaches, and you have to kind of get the one which is right for your company. But I think what is important is not being afraid about them, but taking this as a chance, because you get a free audit. Hey, who doesn't want to have a free audit? And with this, you can do something out of it. And we kind of got out of it with DHL.com saying, hey, we did everything right. Our consent is proven now by Schrems and his organization, so we get a tick mark. Cool. And I think this is something you could focus on. But at the same time, we will never stand still. If you're now right, or if your team is now right doing things, doesn't mean that in a half year we are still right or correct with what you do.
That's a good thing. I hope you are going to cover the how you are going to the run mode more or less. How do you actually, because I'm probably sure DHL have many more than just one website and one container, I would say. So maybe you can tell us, because that's an interesting point that I'm really looking for. Like, how are you going to manage the run mode? Because maybe some websites are managed by an agency, different agency that do not have the specific configuration needed. So how do you plan that?
Yeah, that's a good thing. What we did is we started 2 years ago, or kind of in the correct way, we started 2 years ago with an A/B test and said, okay, we want to know what kind of consent module is the best for us. And what is the best we can do? We can test it, right? So we do optimization all the time. So why shouldn't we test also the consent banner? And that's what we did. And the outcome was a blueprint for the company. So we set up a cookbook and say, that's how we do it in DHL.com. That's how it's configured. As we have OneTrust as a solution in the back end, everybody can copy our template easily and take it and use it for their website. So yes, we have more than one website. You're completely correct. And with this, we try to get in contact with the stakeholders, or they get in contact with us. We don't do the work with them. So we consult them and saying, hey, that's what we've done. That's how we do it. If you take the template we have, you will later on profit from if you change something, because it's the same template. And with this, if we change, you get the change. This is a big win within OneTrust with this template system and geolocation system. Another thing, what we did is we have the same consent banner in every country, no matter what. So we don't look if Australia is different than US, and in the moment it works because we're trying to be on top of all of them with doing GDPR right, because GDPR is out of our view, the most strict one. But in the end, it could be that, as I said, in half a year we have to change, and then perhaps the California Act changes, and we have to have to do something completely different there. But again, then a template system helps you, because everybody gets then another template for, as example, California, just to make the example. And I think what helped, again, is, as always, it's not the tool, it is the process you have in hand. So thinking about how can you do consent in a correct way, and there I just can say, please have a good contact to your DPOs. The legal team, the data protection teams are the ones you need to be as close as possible. You need to be best friends with them, which is hard in the beginning, I can tell you. But I have a weekly call with them for half an hour. And it was the best decision ever to do this, because nowadays, if something comes up, we just go into the call, discuss things, sometimes even ahead of there's something happening. And so we are directly kind of aligned. That helps a lot. The other thing is about consent, what we found out that the DPOs doesn't understand analytics. The DPOs doesn't understand marketing stacks. They doesn't understand how the business behind this works. So there's a lot of translation work to do between legal data protection and our world. and the translator can't be the DPO, the data protection officers. It has to be you or your team, whoever is this, because you at least know the business of marketing stacks and analytics and all this kind of stuff, and you have at least read about GDPR. And so you can try to bring this into their area and make them understand. If they don't understand, you could drop into two gaps. One is they completely restrict you and say, no, you can't do anything, and this is it has to be this banner, and you lose 90% of your traffic, is not what you want. The other thing is that they say, oh, you know, we just consult you. It's your risk. So if you do it wrong, not my fault. Also not what you want, because you need their advice, or at least it was for me, because yes, I tried to read the GDPR law, but in the end, I never studied law, right? So there are pitfalls in I wouldn't even get. So I was very happy to have this connection directly to the team. And then setting up kind of for an organization like us, a consulting, or not a consulting team, but a team who can consult others in this regard, having a blueprint which they can adopt and make life easier. In the end, the work on the website is always up to them, because if you want to block cookies and technologies, I can't do this. This has to be done by the agency, the developers, whatever, who owns the other website, which I perhaps have seen one time. But what I can do is always say, okay, you screen the site, you show us the cookies, we help you to categorize them. We tell you how our template works. We tell you what we think should be right, and important what should be right. Never advise them. They have to do this on their own. Otherwise, it's up to you, because they will come to you, Tony, and say, hey, Tony, you told me I have to do, and now I got kind of sued. And no, just advise them.
Well, that's the point. Like in the organization that I am working with, that there are many thousands of websites, and many of them are very slow, or they are what we call hard-coded websites or hard-coded tags. So they don't know. I think the buzzword of the year, it's GTM for them. It's the buzzword, but nobody knows how to use it. So currently, as a consultant, I'm doing more or less the job for themselves, and we are kind of thinking like, what's the next step? Because in one point, I will be tired of talking about cookies, and someone needs to take over, because I will say on website side, there's one agency, there's another one on the other country. So that's a strong topic, and that's coming that is very coming strong. How do you manage that? Everything like that, and how do you manage like to tell like this agency, or even to watch over every tag container to know that everything is on the container and not on the website, for example.
What we did is we said for each website there must be an internal stakeholder, and the stakeholder is the responsible person. So if they have to deal with the agencies, they do, not us. We can help, we can get into calls, but we don't push the agency. We just can't. We don't have responsibility to push them. It's up to them. They have to push the agency to do the right thing. And that helped. The other thing which helped is really to have the DPOs on our side, because they pushed the topic. So we have areas in our company where we have data protection officers who owned the topic because they wanted to own it, and then they pushed it. And they come then with stakeholders to us and say, we want to have this. Can you help us? Can you consult us? And this also works a lot, or very good.
That's very good advice for everyone. Just be friends with the DPO. They will translate you the GDPR rules and everything. And maybe sometime you will negotiate to have a better banner to get more opt-in rather than the default one that they want and you are. And can you share with us what opt-in rate that you are getting? Or
we're getting in the moment between 70 and 75% opt-in rate. Okay. We have written or my colleague who's done this has written a blog post about it. Let me see if I can find it easily. Then I can link to it. But one other thing which I just wanted to say is you can try to do something good out of the complete thing, especially as you said, you have hard-coded text. on websites. You perhaps don't have GTM there. Perhaps you even don't have the analytics system you want to see there. Content management helps you to drive this topic because they have to touch it. Why don't they bring up the tech manager which you want to have and want to see there? So, give me a second. Einen Moment hier gleich, okay? Ich muss mal gerade weitermachen. So, why don't you bring this up and say, hey guys, if you want to have this content management, let's do it correct. And sorry, and have now a tech manager in place, because this tech manager can help you later on. And with this, you hit two flies with one stone, because they get content and you get a tech manager on this website. I don't know how the company is structured and if you want to get into this responsibility, but sometimes I saw companies which struggled, especially with this kind of, we have so many websites and we don't have kind of in every website what we need. Content helps you because they have to touch their website. And it's much easier to bring in a tech management system and then managing content with the tech management system than hard coding it. So why don't you bring up the tech management system and with this help them with content?
Oh, we are imposing, but sometimes they do the other side. They say, oh, we are closing the website, so perfect, one website down.
Yeah.
But the other time is like, we are removing Google Analytics and my heart is bleeding. So.
That's true. But on the other hand, and I see 5-minute warning. Okay, thanks. What the other thing, if the website doesn't need analytics, fantastic. We don't need to have analytics on every website. If they don't use it to do something good, why should we bother a user with something like this? Why should we track data which we don't use later on to analyze? So for me, this is important, that kind of, okay, you track down analytics, wonderful. We can easily have one less effort. Yeah, I'm a victim, then it's good. So again, try to make the best out of it. Don't see the pitfall of, oh, we don't have analytics anymore. Perhaps it's good that you don't have analytics, and then focus on the websites where you really want to have, and perhaps there you can even get more. So you can use content management as a vehicle to get more. And so, yeah, that's also something I learned from the last 2.5 years.
Good. I share totally your experience.
Any other questions? So I think 3 minutes from perhaps anyone else. Come on stage or just add the question into the chat. And I think one thing I can say is the topic of content management won't go away. It will perhaps change, but there will always be something like this. So I think it's up to us to learn and to stay on top of this, to make the best out of it. Don't let content drive you, drive content, because then we can get something out of this. We can get more information. We can do something with this information. If we are driven by content, we just react. We just try to do something which legal wants from us, but then we perhaps even fail. If we have it in our hand, if we really think about it, if we try to optimize and to use this to get something good out of it, then just what I've seen, and perhaps I just live in a wonderful world, but it helped us to grow. Yeah. So that's it. Tony, any other question from you, because nobody else speaking up? Anything or anything you want to share in the last 2 minutes?
No, I'm happy to hear that we have common grounds on that topic, and like you say, it's very important to meet and agree with your DPO, but still telling him like how important that for some website we still need to get the more consent.
Yeah, that's true. So if you want to connect on this topic, whoever here is interested in more, find me on Twitter. I will just add my handle here. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk about these topics day in, day out, because it helped me to grow our business.
Thanks a lot, Till. I think it's one of the most interesting topic because the quality and even the ethics has to be part of our work for sure, and we have to take in our mind. It's not something that we just forget. So thanks a lot. It's very interesting. I think I will ask a lot of questions in the future because now I'm safe. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot
Welcome.
for everything.
Cool.
If you have
Thank you
any
very much.
question, you can find for sure till in the main room in some table. So I think
Exactly.
it's very available to answer.
Exactly.
So,
Have a
see
great
you.
rest of the MeasureCamp.
Yes. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.